Thank you so much. Thank you, Rasul. Very warm welcome to everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're extremely excited to discuss a topic that's slightly new. We've been reading about it, we've been hearing about it for a while, but I think that there's just too much documentation, and it's very these are very long documents, right? So we decided to bring on experts. So that's why we've invited the HLB HAM team to come on in and explain to us and demystify the UAE climate law. So today we will be covering not just the decree number 11, but the cabinet law as well, right? So the HLB HAM team has an amazing, extremely in-depth presentation prepared for us. Just some housekeeping. So I'd request you to be on mute when there's a speaker speaking. The last few minutes of the webinar are reserved for questions. So we'll try our best to cover as many questions that you'd like. In case during the flow of the webinar, if a question comes up for you, please put it in the chat, and either me or Rasadul or Honey would pick it up and kind of resolve it for you, right? That being said, we've had webinars wherein there are way too many questions for us to cover in the 1 hour allocated. In that case, we'll capture these questions and respond to you over email, right? But I promise you, we'll try to cover 100% of the questions, right? And yes, but whenever there's a speaker speaking, I'd request you to be on mute, and towards the end you can come on in and ask your question as well, right? So let's kick this off. I think I'll quickly start by introducing our amazing panelists, right? So today with me I have Vinod sir. So Mr. Vinod Nambiar, he's the Vice President of ESG and CSR at HLB HAMT. He brings about 25 years of diverse experience across media, sustainability, finance, community outreach. I think he's also a very familiar face in the region, right? I think for us, if whenever we've done meetings with him, we need to, Jason and I have to kind of set aside full 20 minutes because people just recognize him. They come running to him that, sir, oh my God, I've seen you live on stage, etc. Right? So lots of you will recognize him through those community outreach programs. But beyond that, he's a global chair at HLB Cares. Vinod sir is a passionate social worker and environmentalist, and he has led impactful programs recognized by global organizations like the UN and UNICEF. And he's very instrumental in shaping strategies that drive social and economic change. We're very excited to have you on, Vinod sir.
Thank you, Arshi, for the wonderful introduction. Thank you.
You're welcome. Next up is Jason Clement. So Jason, with over half a decade of experience in energy insurance, ESG advisory, risk management, he combines technical expertise with strategic insight. He has led complex projects for listed companies, financial institutions, and private equity firms, while driving ESG initiatives and governance dialogues across the region. He's also one of the smartest people that I know when it comes to sustainability, core strategy, and implementation in the region, at least. So we're so excited to have you on, Jason.
Thank you so much, Arushi. As usual, love the energy. We're really excited to be here and speak about this really new and exciting topic. And I think there's a lot for us to unpack in this one session. Hopefully, 1 hour should be enough, and we'll be respecting everyone's time over here as well. Thank you for all the attendees, and thanks again, Arushi, Rasidul, Hani, for setting this up. Okay.
Perfect. Moving on, I'll quickly start by introducing Oren. We are an end-to-end ESG company. One thing that we focus on quite a bit is we've developed our own platform, right, which companies use for GHG accounting, scope 1, scope 2, scope 3, sustainability reporting, right? We have all the global frameworks available out there, right? And we have like a separate team dedicated to this, which is the most hardworking team in the company, right? Like these sustainability regulations evolve at such a pace Like just literally 5 minutes ago before the webinar, that there was this news out that now in Europe they're going to exempt a couple companies from CBAM, and so I think just yeah, it's a very fast moving space. So we deploy technology to capture the regulation and support companies in that reporting, right? And we work with companies across the world. I'd now hand it over to Vinod sir to introduce HLB HAMT and take us through this wonderful presentation they have prepared.
Thank you, Arushi. Thank you for the wonderful introduction and start the momentum. And as Arushi mentioned, myself, Vinod Nambiar, I'm the heading the ESG department in HLB HAMT. So HLB HAMT is a part of HLB, the Global Advisory and Accounting Network, headquartered in London. We are one of the top 8 networks in the industry globally, and HLB International 50,000 plus professionals working spread across 155 plus countries and 1,100 plus offices globally. That is the HLB International as a global level. And coming to Dubai, UAE, we HLB HAMT is the arm of HLB International, and we started in 1099. We started, and we have 16 partners and directors here, and 26 years completed. Last year, we celebrated our 25th anniversary, and 300 plus officials, employees working here, 9 offices across UAE. And in UAE, we are ranked number 5, fifth, no, among the top audit firms in UAE. And Mr. Hisham Ali, Mr. John Wagis, and Mr. Vijay Anand, they are our top leaders. And we have our senior partners, Mr. Jay Krishnan, Mr. Manoj Kumar, and Mr. Sumesh Krishna. And we have almost all the divisions working with us in UAE. And we takes care of myself, and Jason takes care heading the ESG division here. And yeah, that's all about HLB HAMT. Very quick introduction. Over to Arishi.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Team, before we begin, I'd like to do a very, very quick poll for everyone. Just give me one quick second till yeah, perfect. Rasadul had access to it. Yes. So there's a poll in front of you. We'd really, really appreciate if all of you can answer that. The question is, how would you describe your organization's current readiness to integrate the new UAE ESG laws and the climate change regulations that are in place, right? I know we've not yet talked about it, right? So I promise you there's a lot coming up, right? But for those who understand what it is about, we'd love it if you could answer. For those who do not know what the ESG, the UAE ESG law is about, you can just talk about what is the readiness and maturity of the ESG strategy or ESG implementation within your organization, and we'll pick it up from there. Right. We will be pausing this in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Would love to look at the results. Awesome. Okay, this is interesting. The highest percentage of folks, only 24 responded. Maybe I was too fast. I'm so sorry. I'll try to take more time next time. But we have most number of folks who say we are not yet fully aware of the implications of these new laws. Perfect. So you are in the right place. Then few of you also say that we are aware, but haven't yet started to integrate these laws into our operations. Interesting, right? And a few of you are at the initial stages. That's absolutely perfect, right? I think one thing I'd also like to point out that for us, there are no rules to this webinar, right? So of course, why we will be covering the law in as much depth as possible, but feel free to ask other technical questions about ESG strategy and how you and your organization can implement it. We have the two of the smartest people in sustainability in the country here, so I'm sure we can pick their brain on this. Right? Over to you, team.
Thank you so much, Arushi, for that. And as you said, I think the poll pretty much makes it clear. The agenda for today is to create awareness, is to sort of bridge that gap which is there in information, because again, these laws are fairly new. And again, there's a lot going on in the whole ESG sustainability space. There are cabinet resolutions which have come out. Based on those cabinet resolutions, there are federal decree laws which have come out, both having caveats of their own. So I think we'll dive right down to it. But I think the most important thing for us to understand is how UAE has progressed over the last decade and how we have seen the organic implementation of sustainability and ESG as a whole. So we are all aware of the 2015 Paris Accords. So that has set a lot of wheels in motion. Since then, UAE has always been a leader in terms of sustainability. It has not overcommitted and underdelivered. It has always promised and delivered accordingly. So we have seen actual growth happen. So 2017, you can see here, there was the UAE National Adaptation Plan for all the way to 2050. That is when UAE has committed to achieve net zero. So the UAE Net Zero 2050 plan is very commonly aware. So it's common knowledge that UAE aims for 2050, which is very reasonable. And the entire planning, the growth stage, the actual targets, KPIs for the country to reach there by 2050. So it has sub targets as well, and it's being monitored on a 5 yearly basis currently. So you can see that boost climate resilience by 2050. That is all part of its national program, which is the net zero plan. Key sectors which it's focusing are on health, energy, water, and infrastructure. There's a whole risk assessment in place. Again, it is reviewed both annually and on a 5 year basis. It is then sent to the international bodies as well. So there's a risk assessment, planning, and local action aspect to it as well. So 2021, you can see that there was a net zero which was officially declared the national net zero target, and a lot of different countries have different net zero targets. I think UAE, as per its growth rate, we are seeing it's becoming the hub of the world where East meets West. So there's a lot going on, and it is one of the most secure places economically, geopolitically. So again, factoring all of those things in, I think the Net Zero 2050 plan is a very solid plan for UAE. As part of that, there was a 600 billion dirham investment which was made into clean energy in a very phased manner. We are currently again in phase one of the decarbonization, which lasts up to 2030. Again, just to digress a little bit for our audience, 2030, the phase one plan basically says that there's a 15% decarbonization. Phase two begins from 2030 to 2040. That has a 65% decarbonization plan. And then to finally achieve the net zero by 2050. So that is how UAE government has phased it out. It's very elegant, it's very clean, and you can always monitor the progress which is being made over there. 2024, again, we have got some big news coming up because mid of June, which is exactly 10th June to be precise, Cabinet Resolution 67 was passed. There were broad action plans and strategies put into place for climate mitigation. The whole UAE's climate data and registry was to be created. Again, it's a process which has been in the works for a while now. Now we are at a stage where it is completed, where it is implemented. So the National Register for Carbon Credits, the NRCC, which is an amazing platform created by the government, the MOCCAE, which is the Ministry for Climate Change in UAE, has come up with this NRCC program, which is an open platform to trade carbon credits, which is the first of its kind and which already puts UAE above every other member of the GCC. So this is the first time any member of the GCC has come up with such an elegant solution, something which is actually being implemented and not just more of, good to have strategies in place. These are actual hard and fast mandatory laws. Then comes the sort of last nail, which is sort of the pinch hit you can get, which is the UAE Climate Federal Decree Law number 11. So now that clearly states that there's a GHG reporting, which is now mandatory. The GHG stands for greenhouse gases. So basically, you will need to create a GHG inventory for your organization. Now, this applies to all public, private entities, in everything in all free zones. There is absolutely no exemption. Like you had mentioned, they have come up with exemptions for CBAM in Europe as well. UAE currently is putting everyone in the same category. Size doesn't matter, revenue doesn't matter, operation doesn't matter, sector, industry doesn't matter. It is absolutely mandatory for every organization, and this is now in effect. And I think that is what brings all of us together today to become aware of about it and see what exactly needs to be done, how to go ahead with it, and what at what stage your company currently is. So those kind of the questions which we'll be probably be asking today and then answering. So I think with this roadmap, let's move forward and get into the details of it. Yes. Yeah. So the mandatory GHG emissions, uh, the MRV,
Yeah.
what it is. Yes. Vinod sir, you want to take over?
Jason, thank you. And GHG emissions, we all know that. Again, no, we all talking about climate change for quite long time. No, still we are facing the challenges very much, and we are going through the very bad situations. I should say that in wherever we look into the world, there are problems along with the climate change actions. So there are a lot of things happening. Everybody used to say that, yeah, we have to pledges. We used to plant trees. After sometimes we see that nothing will be there. Everything will be, people are not. See, people are thinking like it is not my job. Individual people are thinking about it is my not my job. This government has to take the clear action. Yes, now UAE has come up. UAE has come up with a clear-cut solution for this, and normally it is not a pledge anymore. It is a very strict action going to take from the. I should say that it's a bold step from the government of UAE and the visionary leaders of UAE as well, because we have to start somewhere. As me and Jason used to say whenever we go for the ESG meetings and all, we used to say our clients, then they used to say that, it is not mandate now what we have to do. Then we used to say that we have to start somewhere. No, you need to have ESG, matured ESG practices in your organization. You have to start somewhere. The same way we are starting now. Yeah, government has taken a very bold thing, because most of the people thinking about the GHG is only carbon dioxide, CO2 emissions. It is not only CO2 emissions, it is methane, nitrous oxide, it is nitrogen trifluoride, it is hydrofluorocarbons, a lot of sulfur hexafluoride. There are a lot of emissions are happening by the industries into the atmosphere. See, all these things are going up into the atmosphere and getting into and making a no that it's a covering our atmosphere, and need to reduce that. That is what it is coming up. And the federal decree 11 law 11 2024 is very much into connecting with that. Enforcement of the decree law is primarily led by the Ministry of Climate Change and Environment. As Jason said, the MOCCAE, they are very strongly involving in all the initiatives, operating in coordination with other relevant regulatory authorities across the UAE. And scope and applicability, the law mandates the measurement, reporting, and reduction of scope 1 and 2, scope was 1 and the scope GHG emissions for all the public and private entities across the UAE, including those operating within the free zones. Normally, we used to see that every time free zones are exempted from, but it is not like that. It is for the humanity. It is for our ecosystem. We have to, have. See, people used to say that whenever we, no, I used to go wherever in the market and plant the trees and all, and people used to insult me as well sometimes. Some people, but it is not like that. We have to take a bold steps and responsible business practices. So I think it is mandatory GHG emissions MRV. I think you might be going through this, and Jason, you can continue with the next slide. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. And rightly, pointed out by Mr. Vinod, I think big part of everyone's job in the ESG space is educating and creating awareness, bridging informational gaps, sort of preparing people to be able to integrate ESG sustainability into their organization. So I think that's a big part of our jobs, and I think this is all about that today. And we'll move on, get a little technical, dive right into the Federal Decree 11 and its caveats. So it follows an MRB mechanism. It is very simple. The government has broken it down for every organization to follow and implement. So there is a measure, report, and verify process in place. So measuring and reporting emissions regularly. Now, what exactly does it mean for an organization? It first step is to identify your emission sources, which is again the guidance to this has been provided by the ministry. And if you are affiliated with energy sector, the the ministries of energy give guidance on that as well. Again, so if it's not just the Ministry of Climate Change, the entire government is sort of having a very hand-holding policy in this matter, and it's been drafted with a lot of care. They have taken the best parts from different countries in the world, and they have created this measure, report, and verify. So once you have identified the emission sources, it's all about measuring GHG emissions regularly. Now, this doesn't just include your carbon dioxide. That is quite often what people think, but it includes every greenhouse gas. Now, for the sake of convenience and comparison, we would need to bring it down to sort of a carbon dioxide equivalent strategy. So you've got all your greenhouse gases, but just for the sake of comparability and an industry benchmarking process, we need to bring it down to something called a carbon dioxide equivalent. So the measuring has to be done with the right emission factors in place, with the right calculators in place. There are a lot of misleading calculators online. There's just a lot of misinformation out there. So it is solely on the organization to find out the right people who have the right resources, who have the right emission factors, to then be able to measure GHG reliably in a way that is auditable, first of all, and which can be verified by the ministry themselves. Preparing an emissions inventory. Again, this is the end goal for Federal Decree 11. You need to create a report. It is very simply put, a disclosure report. The format for this has been provided by the Ministry of Climate Change, and the report has to follow that set format. So preparing an emissions inventory once you have measured is the end goal or the end game for this entire Federal Decree 11. Now, submitting periodic emission reports following approved standards. Now, what exactly are the approved standards? It closely aligns with ISO 16064 and IPCC. Now, again, it is very important that while the government is giving you these options, you need to follow the international standards which are mostly the ISO ones. So again, collecting data in a verifiable way, in a manner which can be audited, and then preparing your emissions inventory. So that is what is most important. Next comes the disclosure part. Disclose emission reduction plans. Once you have gathered data, once you have verified that this is your organization's emissions, next comes the part, how do you plan to reduce it? Because the government doesn't want to stop at just calculation and disclosure. It wants every organization to start thinking how they plan to reduce it. Now, there are a lot of different caveats to this. So, this is where the entire cabinet resolution number 67 comes into play. That is where we get a flavor of the National Register for Carbon Credits. That is where the entire uh, topic or rabbit hole for carbon credits gets opened up, and we will most definitely be discussing that in the coming slides. So right here in your report, what an important part, a critical part, I would say, is to provide an reduction plan for your emissions. So it's basically consists of your current emission levels, existing reduction measures, if any, in the organization. Quite often we have noticed with the companies we have dealt with that they have very broad reduction measures and plan, Mostly those are overarching strategies which have in place, which have never been implemented. For the majority of the companies in UAE, they probably conduct case studies in one of their factories or one of their entities to see how it goes, mostly as a cost optimization effort. But then you'll need to start implementing reduction measures in place. You need to start documenting and disclosing them. Planned future measures, again, you'll need to create a roadmap for the next 5 to 10 years, what your organization plans and how it is planning on reducing its emissions. It could be in terms of operation, it could be in terms of investing for R&D. Again, there's a lot of different aspects to it. But again, having those planned future measures is extremely important in this case. Expected outcomes from these actions. So you cannot say that I am planning to reduce 15% of my emissions vaguely. So you'll need to provide a roadmap. You need to provide actual tangible targets. You need to provide stop gaps in between to measure the reduction. You can, in case you expand your operations and your emissions goes up, you'll need to adjust for that. You'll need to create another roadmap as well. So those kind of things are extremely important in this emission reductions plan. So again, this MRV system is a very cut to cut, very clear system, which is the mechanism MOCCA has created for the entire Federal Decree 11 program. So the measure, report, verify. Again, maintaining records, keeping a record of all emissions measurements for 5 years. That is not a guidance which is to be followed. That is an actual law which is in place, which has already been implemented under the federal decree. You will need to maintain records for 5 years, and this has to be then sent to MOCCA, and then they will then gather all the data, break it down industry wise, and then that contributes to their national determination of contribution, the NDC. So again, this is extremely critical that all organizations follow this, and this is important at a national level as well for UAE, because currently UAE is producing 0.5% of global emissions, which is roughly 250 million metric tons of carbon dioxide equivalent. So those are significant numbers. UAE is a significant player in terms of the industrial revolution, which is currently happening in terms of the development in the real estate sector, which is happening. So in factoring all of those in, we are projecting massive, massive growth in the UAE. So therefore, this is the right time. We are at the right, I would say, junction where we can actually affect policy change at an international level. Therefore, collecting these data points is extremely important. Now, you have to ensure accessibility of records to designated government officers for inspections. Now, the ministry will be taking a direct interest in this. They will be the regulating body. And that said, they will also be identifying a few authorities who will be given the power to then go and validate the emissions report. So again, your data has to be unimpeachable. It has to be absolutely perfect in terms of verifiability, because there's a lot of greenwashing which happens. Removing greenwashing is easier said than done, but I personally believe, after having significant experience in the UAE, that greenwashing is the first step towards proper emissions reporting. So all of those greenwashing terms have to be removed, the data metrics have to be resolved, cleaned up, and a proper record has to be maintained. That leads us to the verification side from the authorities. Every organization needs to be prepared for audits. it there is no order that they will first be hitting the larger companies, then moving to SMEs. They could very well audit micro SMEs as well. So every organization needs to be prepared and adept at maintaining these kind of records, and they need to be prepared for audits directly from the ministry or organizations authorized by the ministry. There's an annual review and analysis. So the ministry will collect and analyze your emissions data annually. including your mitigation efforts. So again, the plan that you have in place, the sustainability strategy which every organization should have, should be more than just a compliance document, because that is no longer the way things are going to move ahead in UAE. Things have changed. UAE has always been an area of compliance versus requirement. Do we need it? Is someone checking us? Because again, like Mr. Vinod had said, uh, eh, for your audit statements, for your financial statements, there's a lot of compliance requirements. For sustainability, there's always been a little bit of a lag there. If you're listed, you need an annual ESG report. But again, that becomes a compliance thing. For non-listed companies, it was always a big loophole. We do not need it. Eventually, the government moved to pushing it through supply chain of listed companies, through the whole supply chain sustainability program. Now that has gone successfully, they have now implemented this Federal Decree 11 law, which is absolutely and without any easement mandatory for all organizations. So moving ahead. This is just a summary for the Federal Decree Law 11. This is for your benefit. I'm sure this gives you all the information that you need. You can see when, at exactly which date the law has been enacted. You can see when it has come into effect. So as you can see, this is currently in effect. Everyone who has not started is already late. So this is the right time. Uh, Ideally, it would have been earlier, but again, uh, it is something which needs to be done at the earliest, end of the adjustment period. Again, they have given you an year to transition, but your data collection needs to start right away, because you need 2025's data to be then able to report in 2026. You'll need to have that 5-year plan in place. You'll need to have your mitigation plans in place. The entire disclosure document that you're supposed to have should be in place right away. Potential start date for the sustainability reporting, we see they have mentioned it as early as August 30th, 2025. This is the only area that there is a little bit of vagueness, but this is exactly how it has been mentioned in the actual decree article itself, because they are going to depend on how the companies transition, how well it is being adapted. So based on that, they are going to decide how strictly would they be able to regulate this. So while it is mandatory, they have not gone as far as to disrupt your operations. This is to give you that transition phase so that you and your organization can adjust, learn, gather awareness about it, and then move in an organic manner. Because at the end of the day, that is how UAE operates. Uh, yes, national emission reduction targets. So again, annual reviewed and updated periodically. So again, this all falls under the Federal Decree 11. Again, the sector-specific plans developed and periodically updated. What this means
I think there
is,
are lots of messages coming in between chat in the chat. Definitely, we
yeah, I
will
can see that.
answer it once it is finished. So please hold your
Mm.
questions and you can put it into the chat. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we've got 3 people now monitoring the chats. We've got Arushi, we've got Rasidul, we've got Hani. I think
Okay.
they're all on top of it. That's why I'm not pausing in between. We'll be happy
Yeah.
to answer as many questions as possible, as many as time permits us. But within the session, for the ones who have gone unanswered, we'll be reaching out to you personally via email, and we will be answering your queries. So no one's going to go uh, with any gaps, informational gaps back home. So we're going to be addressing all of them, and
You want
that's
a
why I'm
water
just
break?
rolling through
Jason,
it.
you want a water break?
No, I'm good, sir. I'm good. It's actually I'm
Okay,
quite
I
kind of a
will I
roll.
will I will take through the slide. So
Sure, yeah,
because
absolutely.
Jason has already talked about the
Mm,
MRV measurement reporting and verification in very detail, and the summary part is also here. And sector specific plans developed and periodically updated. We have to do that. Emissions measurement and periodic reporting regular basis, and periodic reports have to be generated. Emissions data record keeping minimum 5 years from the analysis date. This is very important. Data have to be maintained and kept it for any time, any verification time for 5 years minimum. And ministry's annual data analysis is again annual basis. And NDC review. NDC means nationally determined contributions, and this review is periodically reviewed. So, yeah. Over to you, Jason. Next.
Yes, thank you so much, sir.
Yeah.
I think the next slide also falls under your expertise. So I think this is something you should definitely take because you have been doing this for 2.5 decades now. So the mandatory mitigation measures which are under Article 4, the different ways for organizations to actually strategize and then create a plan for them to mitigate their impact on the environment. And whatever be their current standing in terms of emissions, I think these are ways to reduce. So yeah, Vinod sir, you want to take this?
One moment, Jason. I'm looking for the questions. There are a lot of questions coming in, and
Yeah, we will
so I'm eager to
definitely get
see
to
the
this.
questions as well. The people are very much into, and
Yeah,
easily
absolutely. It's a very, very engaging crowd, which is
yeah.
absolutely appreciated, and we love a
Yeah.
crowd. Absolutely.
So mandatory mitigation measures, all sources must contribute to emission reductions. Sources means, that what all the people, what all emissions are making, everything is coming under the sources must contribute to emission reductions. The low providers, if it is any small organization also have any kind of emissions, definitely they have to come under this emission reduction project. The law provides a menu of approved methods. You must implement one or more. One is improve energy efficiency. We all know that we wanted to energy efficient. It is good for your business profit as well as the emissions, reducing the emissions as well. Utilize clean energy sources. We know that clean energy, solar energy, and renewable energy sources and all. Protect and enhance natural carbon sinks. Implement carbon capture, use and storage. Use alternatives to fluorocarbons, because as I mentioned, the GHG emissions, fluorocarbons also contribute a very key effort into the GHG emissions and make the climate change. Engage in carbon offsetting. We know that there are a lot of way to do carbon offsetting. You have a company and you have emissions, you are not able to reduce it, but you have to take measure to offsetting for that. So in the form of planting more trees and and match it. Otherwise, carbon credit systems are there in place. So implement integrated waste management system, adopt other approved technologies. Definitely, we have to look into the technology adaptation as well, because going forward, we need to use it as well. Yeah. Jason.
Thank you so much, sir. So again, the enforcement and the legal obligation that organizations have towards the government, because now the Federal Decree 11 is in effect. So we've all heard of the fines, depending on the severity, depending on the size of the organization, depending on the level of non-compliance. And I would say there is a factoring in greenwashing as well. You've got fines ranging from 50,000 to 2 million. So these are very, the the amount here shows the seriousness of the UAE government, shows the gravity with which they have taken this topic and with which they have proceeded. So these are much higher than any other standard non-compliance fines that you can find in day-to-day operations. So this shows very, very serious actions from the UAE government. Repeat violations will incur double fines within, if the penalties, if there's a violation within 2 years. Again, so ideally for every organization, there shouldn't be a violation. There should be absolutely auditable, verifiable disclosures which is going on. And in case there needs to be some sort of mechanism to rectify those. and there needs to be a remediation plan in place. And this should not be just for the next year, but a broader 5-year view is what the government wants every organization to take. So again, this is something which is currently being enforced, and this is something that speaks for itself. We don't really need to spend a lot of time on this lab. But again, this is at the end of the day, this is where the ball drops. This is the enforcement side of things. Okay, path forward for large emitters, the leveraging the carbon credits. This is where we deviate into the cabinet resolution number 67. So you've got your federal decree 11. Now this is the cabinet resolution number 67, which has again come out a few months before federal decree 11. So this is basically the foundational blocks for federal decree. Again, this focuses uh, primarily on the large emitting companies. It establishes UAE's national register for carbon credits. Again, this is a very interesting bit over here because this NRCC opens it up for smaller organizations who can voluntarily, act in this behest, because even though they might not cross the threshold, which you can see the scope over here is for companies exceeding 500,000 metric tons of carbon dioxide. So suppose your company is smaller, you can then create sustainability initiatives with which you can generate carbon credits, which you can then sell, which you can then trade to larger companies who can purchase it from you. And there's a lot of exciting, momentum with this whole NRCC bit. So primarily, it affects large emitters. That is definitely true. So if your organization is producing more than 500,000 metric tons, so very broadly put, there would be around 50 to 70 such companies in the UAE operating currently. Now, if you are a company which is not in that range, if you're not producing more than 500,000 metric tons, and if you have verifiable data to show that, you can still engage with the NRCC in a way that you have additional carbon credits to your organization, with which you can then leverage and get a lot of different incentives from the government. There's a plethora of opportunities out there. It's all in. You just have to reach out, be aware of what is going on, and then use those opportunities and incentives out there. So it's not just primarily for the large players. That is quite the misconception. While it is primarily designed for the large emitters, there's a lot of scope for your smaller organizations, your SMEs as well, because that is basically what UAE is made of. Many SMEs working night and day to reach those larger levels. So again, coming back to the Cabinet Resolution number 67, it establishes the UAE's National Register of Carbon Credits, the NRCC, forming a comprehensive framework to monitor, verify, trade carbon credits nationwide. This is again a sort of a paradigm shifting move by the UAE government. It is again the first of its kind in GCC, and again, generally in this part of Asia. The scope and applicability of it, all entities, including financial and non-financial free zones. Again, everyone within UAE, if you are producing more than 500,000 metric tons, you need to have proper, verifiable, auditable GHG disclosure report out there, which is nothing but a GHG inventory. Entities with emissions below this threshold can voluntarily participate. So again, they have opened it up. It's all about using those incentives for the improvement of your organization. Moving forward. Again, we've come back to the summary of it. Yeah. Vinod sir, do you want to take this?
Yes, Cabinet Resolution number 67. As Jason mentioned, there was 67 and the Decree 11, so don't get confused. And event effective date 28th December 2024, compliance deadline 28th June 2025, very soon, this month itself. And the threshold for mandatory entry, 5 million, 0.5 million metric tons carbon dioxide CO2 every year, per year. Reporting standards, IPCC, ISO 14,064, 14,065, internationally recognized methodologies, and regulator, again, Ministry of Climate Change and Environment, SCA, for trading platforms, security and commodity authorities as well, yeah, SCA. Jason, anything to add, you can add. Because
No, sir,
time
I
is
think
for
we've
46
covered
only.
that. Yes, absolutely. I think this is Arushi's turn now. Arushi, you want to take the audience poll?
Yes, absolutely. Would love to hear from you. You can think of this to be like a little test that according to the Federal Decree Law number 11, which of the following entities are expected to report their emissions, their GHG emissions?
If it's a test, I hope everyone gets it right. You know? I think we've been
I
hitting this
think
topic for a while
100%,
now.
100% you'll be right.
Yeah. This is a very interesting question. I think it just popped up in front of me. Uh, Madhvika, is it expected or is it mandatory?
Oh, very good. 88%.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
perfect.
yeah, very
I
good.
think only 4 people, they might be gone somewhere in between.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes, it is mandatory. Just to quickly respond to that one, not breaking ranks here, but yeah, just the one, it is mandatory for our, yeah,
Including the free
perfect.
zone companies.
Yeah,
Yeah, including the free zone companies.
perfect. Yes, we've got a to-do list for all our organizations. I hope I didn't skip through anything, Arushi. I think I'm on the right track.
Yep,
Yes,
you're the
yes,
right one.
Jason. This is actually
Per-
a question. I believe Rohit asked this question, but we do have this question that what can companies do in the chat. So perfect. We're covering one of the questions as well.
Yes, absolutely. Perfect. We'll just keep going, and at the end, again, we can probably do a quick round of Q&A, get a few
Yeah.
questions in. So this is a to-do list for all organizations, business owners, head of operations, everywhere should be aware of this, and doesn't matter that, okay, I'm a small pharmaceutical company or I'm a SME manufacturing company based out of Hamria Free Zone. It doesn't matter. This is a to-do list for every organization, and it needs to be followed. And there is no easement of it. There is absolutely no loopholes that you can probably uh, leverage to get out of it. So your to-do list is developing the GHG inventories and decarbonization strategies. Very quick, very simple. This is a very clear approach that this is your end game. This is what you need at the end of your efforts for decarbonization. Again, training and capacity building. Every part of your organization needs to be aware why you're doing this. They need to be made aware of the federal decree laws which are in place, which is non-negotiable. So again, training and capacity building, every organization should be made self-reliant. Again, a big part of our job is to educate and to sort of democratize the entire sustainability in all companies in UAE. It is not just the big players. It is not just the companies catering to the large organizations. This is something which is meant for everyone. They need to conduct trainings with subject matter experts. They need to bring in the right kind of talent. They need to build capability within their organizations. That is what is very essential over here. Climate risk assessment. Again, now how a climate, so you've got your risk registers. Every organization in UAE follows a very intricate internal risk assessment program of its own. You need to integrate climate risk into it. You need to find all the ways if your company is not following any sustainability well. It could affect your procurement, it could affect your bottom line. All of that needs to be integrated into your organization. So climate risk assessment ties in with the whole UAE national strategy for decarbonization. Every organization should have this. So it's not just a report. Okay, law has come, I will make a report. That's it. There's a lot of different aspects to it. If you, there's a way you can do it quick, there's a way you can do it properly. We always recommend the comprehensive way, and which gives companies the capability to handle any sort of changes to regulations which come up from the government, because as we all know, that is the agenda for the government, to start somewhere and build organically. So this is just the beginning. The 500,000 metric ton threshold is going to get lower in the coming few years, because that is what UAE does. It starts and it grows organically. So that is very important. Leveraging incentives and opportunities. This is a very important bit for all SMEs because of the national register for carbon credits opening up. It is not just sit back and watch the bigger players create reports. Every organization is anyways creating its inventory, its GHG inventory. You need to incentive, you need to actually go out there and find out. You need to get people on board who can understand what incentives are out there. Even if you do not fall in a category for above 500,000 metric tons, how can you leverage that inventory that you have created and use it in your carbon credits and on your benefit, something that will actually affect your bottom line again. These are matters which directly affect your organization in a very major way. So again, understanding those incentives, approaching those opportunities in the right way, and overall just understanding and creating awareness and knowledge, that is what is important. Because if you do not know what you can do, there is absolutely nothing which can be done. So getting those kind of information, uh, being proactive about it, reaching out to experts, getting that information and acting upon it is very important. And this is a very critical juncture that we're at. We need to start right away. And I think this session and many sessions like this would facilitate that. So we're all here, and I think it's a very good forum and a platform to have to discuss these new laws which are coming. So this is your to-do list. You can take a screenshot, you can perhaps use it and build upon this. So this is all on you. So again, I
One more
think,
thing I can
Rishi,
add, Jason, here. I wish to see
yeah, yeah,
all the people joined here can be convert their business into a responsible business after the training. And
yeah,
we all hearing that ESG metrics. Always we are seeing listening that E, S, and G, and make it in our practice, day-to-day practice. E is environment. Anyway, everybody we knows that what our company is doing, what the emissions we are making. It is mandate anyway now. And yes, people are thinking about S is a social element only. It is for the CSR only. No, it is not only CSR. It is for your employees as well. How you take care of your employees, employee well-being, diversity, equity, and inclusion. All these things comes under the broader, yes, yes, and community also, definitely community also along with that, because where you operate, and the G is the governance, the ethical business practices, and all together make your business into convert your business into a responsible business. That's what we also wanted to tell our clients as well. We help other companies as well to do the same way. Over
perfect.
to Arifi for
Yes,
the
thank you
closing
so much.
remarks.
I'm sorry. Yes.
Mm.
We just like to wrap up. I think we are pushing it a little bit on the timing, but
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I think we
yeah,
just have way too many
apologies.
questions.
Yeah.
Jason, Rascal has made a note of all of the questions, right? So in case we miss a few, and we definitely are going to miss a few, Rascal will make sure that we reply to you. I will quickly summarize what we offer, right? There are two key pillars to this partnership. So in this one is the technology platform we have, where using the GHG protocol, your greenhouse gas emissions can be accounted for scope 1, scope 2, scope 3. For scope 3, we have multiple methodologies, any kind of sustainability report, peer benchmarking amongst your peers on ESG metrics, supply chain sustainability as well. right? And the HLB HAM team has a large suite of experts, decarbonization experts, climate risk experts who step in and look at your organization's emissions, create that decarbonization roadmap that can be submitted to SBTI or not in case you want to consume it internally, provide ESG training, support on ESG ratings, the whole lot, right? Think of us to be everything ESG in one place. Right now, I'll just shut up about this, and I will move on to the amazing questions that we have. The first question I'll pick up is from Akhil, and Vinod sir, Jason, whoever wants to pick it up can pick it up. So, what would a 90-day action plan look like for a business starting compliance efforts today?
Very good question, actually. Thanks to Akhil for bringing it up. If you wanted a 90-day plan, it would basically consist of three elements to it, three major steps. One would be an assessment, which would include data collection, data onboarding, and the actual calculation itself. Let us say 30 days for that, because again, we do not want to disrupt business operations. They need to proceed as planned. Second comes the implementation. So you've got an assessment, implementation, reporting, three elements to it. So you've got the assessment done. Next comes an implementation plan where you identify the gaps, where you have maybe noted severe gaps in certain processes in place. You do not have data. You need to start collecting data. You do not have actual verifiable calculator in place. You don't have a background engine working for you. You need to work on that. That is implementation. You need to come up with your strategies for mitigation, your future 5-year sustainability plan. All of that comes under implementation. Now, once you have done your assessment and your implementation, finally comes the reporting. That is all about disclosures, all about data. It's all about showing it in a way that can be audited, where there is absolutely zero greenwashing. So if you were to ask for a 90-day action plan, it would basically consist of these three steps. Again, you need different elements to it. There's a data collection side, you need a data management system to it. That's where, again, you've got Arushi coming in. You need advisory sitting on top. You need to implement policy creation, all of that. That is where an organization like HLB would come in. So general 90-day plan consists of three parts. Again, just to recap, an assessment, implementation, reporting. Yeah.
Perfect. Akhil, I hope that answers your question. We'll now pick up your next question, and it's a challenging one. So, Jason, what distinct advantages do clients gain by partnering with HLB HAMT for ESG consulting, especially in comparison to other firms in the market?
Okay, wow. I have been answering this question for quite a while now, so it's interesting that Akhil brought it up. But yes, thanks again, Akhil. So again, the advantages that you have with an organization like HLB HAMT is something that we've been here since '99. Again, we've been here for 26 years on the ground. We've got over 400 employees in place. We offices in all 7 Emirates, free zones, mainland, all of it. We're part of the HLB International Network, which was set up in '69. We're part of 155 country plan, over 50,000 employees all over the world. So if you want me to sum it up, why HLB HAMT, you get regional plus international expertise, so that knowledge and the resources of HLB International is what you have at your disposal. For a company, it could be an SME, in UAE. So it's not just a UAE-based firm which has been here. We have already established our credentials in UAE. We are ranked 5th by the International Accounting Bulletin. So again, we work on the ground closely with our clients. We have been recognized for that. And at the same time, you need your international resources of HLB International. So you sort of best of both worlds. And I think we've got such a good ecosystem for partners such as Oren as well. So for every different thing we exactly identify what the need is and then suggest our best recommendations. So I don't think there's a better
Jason, I need to add one small
perspective
thing.
on
We are
that.
the passionate people, and we'll
Okay,
spread the passion to your organization with the less
absolutely.
cost.
I know. So, you can't fake passion. At some point, it's all about there is the whole consultant jargon, but you've got someone like Mr. Vinod who's on the ground Again, for last 2 decades, he's done so much work on the social side of things. He's a pillar of the community over here. So every second or third person recognizes him. So it's not just an ESG consultancy. We do not strictly stick to okay scope of work. We have found this out. We believe in holistic improvement. We believe on an end-to-end value addition to our clients. That is why we do not claim to operate just as a solo singular entity. We work very closely with the other HLB member firms. We bring in subject matter experts like Arushi to the foray when the client needs it for something like a Federal Decree 11, you absolutely need an engine and a calculator. So again, it's all about creating that one holistic ecosystem where all your needs are met in a way that it sets up for all future requirements as well. So that's kind of our whole pitch, yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much,
Yeah,
Jason and Vinod, sir.
sure.
I think I'll just address a couple more questions as well because it's 5 2, right? If you guys have to drop off, we completely understand. Again, all questions will be responded, but just answering one quick question is that lots of you are asking what ESG framework is required for the decree law and GHG protocol, right? Right now, the reporting is limited to scope 1, scope 2, scope 3. So the GHG protocol should be enough for you to do this reporting. Once a report is ready, it has to be submitted on a digital portal of sorts on the website of Ministry of Climate Change and Environment, right? I've seen this question a couple times. That being said, any closing thoughts, any closing comments, Jason and Vinod, sir? We have a lot of questions left, but yeah.
Yeah, I think we'll personally sit down and respond to each of the questions. But if I had to wrap it up, this is a very, very informative session. We've got your inputs, we've got Vinod sir's inputs, and I think we've covered some good ground in this because there's so much going on. It's difficult to squeeze it into 1 hour, 60 minutes. So we can definitely have a few more of these sessions where we can do a whole myth busting round. We can probably unwrap a little more of the laws and regulations which are coming into place. But I think we have covered some good ground
I
and
think, Jason,
we're
somebody
really
asked
excited.
for, somebody requested for a training. Definitely, we are there to
Yeah,
train your
absolutely.
employees and your CXO team as well. We are ready for that. Individually, we can come and take this in a session for
Yes, so
your company.
we have a whole wing dedicated for that. There's a HAMT Academy, which is KHD affiliated with the Dubai government. So again, training, so they source out specialists and they bring in so for different tiers for your CXOs, for your board members, for your operations teams, for all of it. So we got to sort of cater to that whole training side to things in a very specialized and a dedicated manner. It's a whole different ball game. But yeah, we're happy to uh, you know join hands and collaborate over there as well. Sure.
We will reach out all the questions. We will return, revert back to them and give the
Sure.
answers.
Absolutely. Apologies, I might have pushed the time. That's why we did not have the entire Q&A suggested because I tend to get carried away with such interesting topics. So my apologies, but I'll make sure all the questions are answered.
Perfect, perfect. Thank you so much, Jason. Thank you so much, Vinod, sir. This was wonderful. It's
Thank
it's
you.
our first webinar together, definitely not the last.
Okay.
Again, we can just pick all of these questions up and convert that into a webinar, right?
Yeah,
Lots of great ideas
absolutely.
and thoughts here.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
thank you so much for your time on this beautiful Thursday today, and I hope
Perfect.
you have a great day and a great week further. And thank you all of you for attending and being part of this. We really appreciate it. And again, in case there's any question that comes back to you while you're going about your day, you do have Rasidul's. You have most of our email IDs, right? You can
Yeah,
reach out to us on LinkedIn as well, and feel free to drop a note, and we'll pick it up from there.
perfect. Thank you so much, Arushi and Rasadul, for setting this up. You've been a lovely host. Thank you again.
Thank
Cheers.
you so much, all the listeners, all our participants, and wonderful team behind the webinar. Thank you so much.
Perfect.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye bye.